What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to G-Ball Vision. Thank you for stopping in. Today we have an exciting unboxing to dig into. Before we get started, double check and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I'd love to have you here. And before you head out, do me a huge favor. Hit the thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate it, everyone. Really helps push the video out there so more people have a chance to check it out. And feel free to let me know what you're carrying in your pockets today down in the comments. Love hearing from you guys and what your EDC for the day is. So we have a Kizer here to take a look at. And this is a model, it's a fairly new model. It's one that I've never checked out before, but it's one that looks very interesting. This is going to be more in their affordable realm, or kind of in the middle, actually. You get a couple of stickers, you get a pamphlet and paperwork, and then underneath there you'll have some extra hardware, and you'll have your knife housed in some cellophane. So this is a version I don't think I've seen before. We are taking a look at the Kizer Dogfish. And what I mean by I've never seen this version before, the only one that I have seen is the black on black. So this one is a green G10 with black hardware and black blade. I do like black on black, but I almost, because I have so much of it, I almost prefer this green with all the black accents. It's a nice kind of forest green, and then it has kind of a light hue to it. Or it just needs cleaned and it'll darken up, one of the two. Looks really good though. It's got a nice like starburst type pattern almost. Very fine jimping in there. Let's see if we can get a look. You can kind of see all the real fine milling that's going on that handle. Looks really good, has a lot of texture, and then they're using their shiny PVD coating in this case. They also do a black wash, and they do a bunch of other finishes, but this shiny PVD is one of their mainstays for sure. Oh, this is coming in Nitro V, which I didn't know that either. So there is your Dogfish on the back, nice and subtle. And then you have the Kizer logo. Nice simple drop point blade from here out. This little ramp here with the jimping, that's a cool touch. It gives it kind of a different aesthetic. Even though it's a very standard drop point shape, that ramp and that jimping there with this 50-50 area, it gives it a little bit different aesthetic. I know some people right away will complain about the blade to handle ratio. At least I'm going to guess. And I'm going to guess that people will complain. I haven't seen a video on this knife, and I haven't asked anyone about it, of course, but I'm willing to bet people have complained about the blade to handle ratio, and that the blade doesn't quite go with the handle. But I'm not much for the blade to handle ratio ideal. Now, if it's insane, then of course, if you have a 5-inch handle with a 2-inch blade or something like that, then yeah. But when you're trying to see if it's a little short to complain about it, then it's not, looks can be deceiving. That is basically, for all intents and purposes, damn near at the end of that backspacer. So they really could not have pushed that any further. So that's kind of a guess, but I like it. I don't mind a little bit larger handle. We'll do it real quick. I don't typically do this, but a good kind of representative of a little bit larger handle than blade is going to be like your PM2. This gives you an awesome amount of handle, and it's going to give you plenty of blade to do anything that you need to do, but the ratio is a little off. But that doesn't bother me one bit, and it doesn't bother thousands upon thousands of other people either when it comes to the PM2. So the blade to handle ratio thing, you're on the wrong channel if that's something you are worried about, because it's not something that concerns me unless it is ridiculous. So let's get our Issuing Stitches Hank out here and see what this deep carry clip looks like in the pocket. It is going to carry nice and deep. You will not see any of that knife poking out of the pocket there, and it's going to have good retention. This is Kizer's standard pocket clip for this price range of knife, and I really like this pocket clip, especially if you like deep carry. It's going to carry nice and deep, even though it's not recessed. There's plenty of room in there. The screws are recessed, so I'm good with it. Do I wish it was recessed? Yeah, but then you need to make sure you have a filler tab on this side so the aesthetic looks clean. I don't mind this, and it makes it so they can make it reversible and still keep the aesthetic clean. So I always say either I want it this way or I want it recessed and a filler tab on the show side. So if you're not going to put that filler tab in there, you know, we've been over this many times. But I like the look. It looks clean. I would love it if they did some. I don't mind this shiny PVD, but I would love to see them do some different. They are starting to add those finishes, but I'd love to see them on this more specific price range, like that 100 and under. Now they do still do some other ones. They do some black washes and they do some stone washes and maybe some satins, but I'd like to see more of those. This would have looked awesome with a black wash blade. Basically this with a tumble to it. And if there's anyone new watching, what I mean by a washed finish is, you see how that looks in the light? That's because this has been coated like this, but then it has another process after the fact. And these are relatively, or were relatively, in the same price point. I think these are around, or were around 100. I think they're a little bit more affordable now, or they were on sale, which was a steal. And I think these are right around 100. So it has nothing to do with, oh, that's a lot more expensive of a knife because they added that extra step. No, they are relatively the same price, and this is aluminum in comparison to G10. But I like this washed look. It takes use better. The coatings hold up great, but these just take on the wear and tear better, and I think they look aesthetically better as well. Now, when these are brand new out of the box, they do look good. I don't mind the shiny PVD, and the coating that Kizer does and uses does hold up very well. You have to be doing some insane things in order to really break through that coating. You're going to get marks on there if you cut cardboard and you're using it. You're going to get marks on there, but nothing that a little bit of oil or TLC won't take off and basically put it back into its original state. I can show an example of a Kizer with the shiny PVD that I've been using for a couple years now and still looks relatively pretty damn good. But that is your black washed blade right there, and I think that would have looked killer on this knife here. That washed effect looks great, but as it sits, I do like this version. I like the look. I like the size. I can get a nice full grip on this thing because of that 50-50 area. You can get right up behind that edge, and because of that area as well, you can use that to get up on the tip for nice precise cuts. And then this standard or choked up grip is really comfortable. You got this nice fine jimping with the ramp there. The standard grip is also very comfortable as well if you need a little bit of reach or you're just poking and slashing, doing those types of cuts. Then I can see being in this grip, but for the most part, this is where I would be, or the index style of cut. It's going to carry nice. It's not heavy. The balance point, where is it? Right there behind the pivot, just on that ledge there, or just behind the ledge there. So pretty good, right where you would want it to be, or relatively close. So good weight to this thing. Why don't we go ahead and we'll check the edge, see what kind of edge they sent on this Nitro V. I trying to rack my brain and remember, have I ever had anything else from Kizer with Nitro V? You don't typically see that from Kizer. We see that a lot with Civivi, and more companies are starting to use it now. Real Steel is using it. I think Vosteed might be using it. Are they using it too? I think Vosteed is. Now Kizer is, which is great. The more options, the better, in my opinion. It drives everything up for the consumer. The more offerings, the more choices we have, the more competition there is to make those offerings better and more, and offer more options. It's just better for everyone. Now, one thing we haven't talked about yet is this is a button lock here. And I believe, I'm not seeing the plunge in there, but I believe this is just a standard plunge system, but I could be very wrong. Why? If this is not a standard plunge system, someone let me know. Keep in mind, this is just an unboxing. By the time you are seeing this, I will probably know the answer, but you can go ahead and leave it down in the comments. But this is a button lock, and it has very good springs in there, regardless of if this, no, it's not a liner lock or a top liner lock, compression style lock. So there's springs in there, and the springs that are in there are very well done, nice and strong. You have that rear flipper, you have the cutout, thumb and reverse flick are money. The front flipper, that works really good, at least for the thumb rollover. The reach around is approved there, and the index rollover is good as well. The way that they rounded these on both ends and then finally jimped them, that works extremely well, ladies and gentlemen. Really, really nice. So nice snappy action. The last question that we have to answer is, how is that lock going to hold up? So let's get our whacker out here and whack the hell out of this thing. We didn't check centering. I have an issue with that. It is perfectly centered, and that blade is crowned. Very nice. That is crowned. I love seeing that. We are starting to see crowned spines in more affordable options every month. There's more and more of them, so that is really cool. It's not a necessity. It's not something I have to have or something I look for, but it's a nice touch. So we have a crown spine. We have a centered blade. We're going to have a little bit of movement there because the nature of the lock, it's a plunge lock, so there's no true lashing of a detent there because this is more spring oriented. There's no pivot lashing in there. There's no movement. When we do a soft open, it locks out good. There's no up and down play. And if I really wrench on this thing, I can move the entire blade, but there's no movement in there around the pivot or on the lock. So that is good. Let's get this thing locked up solidly and give it a couple whacks and see what happens here. My dogs are fighting. Well, they're not fighting, but the big one stepped on the little one. Looking good. We'll do one more just to make sure. Very good. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things. The things I've heard about the Dogfish design and knife have all been pretty much positive. When this knife initially came out, It was a pretty big success, a pretty big hit, and I can see why. And let me know if people have complained about the blade to handle ratio, or at least the look of that, because I feel like that's something people have complained about, but in all reality, it's not bad at all. Action's great, ergos are great. It's going to cut well. Nitro V is a good steel, and it's going to carry very nicely as well. You used to see this clip on much more expensive Kizers, so this is a great clip for this knife. Great aesthetic. Yeah, I can see this being a fantastic EDC knife. You got the fun fidgetiness with the button lock, but we have a safe and secure lockup in there for general use. You guys will have to let me know. What do you think of the Dogfish? Have you had one before, or do you own one now? Love hearing from you guys. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Always appreciate it. Let me know what your favorite Kizer is too, down in the comments. I'm interested to hear maybe your top 3 or your top 5 Kizers. Let me know, because I might be working on something. If you're new here, we do videos just like this one every single day. Hit that subscribe button, ring the little bell. I'd love to have you here. Otherwise, guys, I'll throw up a couple of new videos. Go check one of them out. Have yourself an awesome day. Thanks again for watching. I will catch you on the next one.